Alright guys, welcome to another iPad and Procreate tutorial. So I set up the background into somewhat a 80% lightness or the gray, then so that I can see the paint a little bit more. If you set it in white, usually it will cause the painting to be a little lighter than usual, and it might not it's kind of hard for us to get the highlight or something because the white background doesn't suitable for painting. Even in traditional painting, you still have to prime your canvas to be more of a neutral tone. So it's kind of like a mid-tone, but into the lighter aspect on the regular um, traditional painting. So iPad, I kind of do the same thing. I set it about 80 or 70% light brightness. So now I'm just start scribbling with some sort of a face. And if you've seen my previous tutorial with the face, so you should know that where the eye should line up should be about halfway of the head height. The nose is about halfway from the eye to the chin. Usually it can be a little bit upper, a little bit more down, depends on how you want to stylize the face, but usually that's where you can get a little more normal accurate measure. And then the lips are usually halfway from the bottom of your nose to the chin, but usually you can set it up higher. It cannot go lower than that. So you have to know where the jaw lines are. So you have to go back to my iPad portrait tutorial or any of my portrait drawing tutorials, so you can know. If this is your first video, you should go back and so you can understand where the facial structure should be constructed. So, and they're basically the same. Doesn't matter you use pencil drawing or use Photoshop or use Wacom tablet or iPad or anything. The proportion of the face remain pretty much the same. So now I got a really quick face with both what do you call that, like pigtails, and it's on different layers. And I use a regular, like I think it's a 4B pencil on iPad for that to draw. And now I am going to start painting or coloring over the line. So, and so now we have the line draw, and I'm just, so I made another layer on top, so that I think I should move it down to the bottom so I can sort of see where I should set up my area of the skin color paint. So, and usually I would not, like, since my drawing is pretty sketchy, so those mark I made on the sketch, like the eyes, the nose, and the lips, those are where they should be. So it's not necessary that I will finish my drawing exactly the same as the line that I draw. So, but it will be pretty similar. So those are basically the construction line. So I can be a little more loose rather than being rigid and try to get everything exactly as my line. And I think that's where most people sort of kind of not getting quite there. They just want to color or paint so that it will look exactly like that they're drawing. I mean, it's legit, or it's okay, it's possible for me. I just want to go with the flow. And those are the sketchy drawing. That's why I never really make a tight drawing. You could also do a tight drawing, just fill in the color you need to paint. So when you fill in the color, you can just use light and shadow and inking or something. But when you paint, I just like to have a little more leeway to develop my character further, or making some change or some tweaks. So now, as you can see, now I'm just, my paint are all over the place, and those sketchy line are just, like I said, the designated area that where I should like it's like a guideline that I put my paint on, but then these are like when I putting this paint on, it's under the layer is under the line drawn. Sorry, couldn't think of the word. But then I will make another layer on top of the line drawn and just paint over so that you can take control of where how you want to tweak. If you want to tweak the shape of the hair a little bit, or if you want to tweak the shape of the eyes a little bit, then you have the way to go over that. So now I'm picking some color, and I'm still I'm not fast at Procreate yet, but eventually I will be. So as you can see here, I'm still struggling here and there to find some tools, and I decided that she would wear a green top. And if you can see, I alternate between the brush and the eraser, and the eraser are pretty useful when you want to get some precise shape for the paint that you lay down. So I basically use the eraser as the modifier for the shape, because it's you can't do that in real life, but in the digital painting or in Photoshop, in any digital program, you have this is your a lightsaber, so you can use that as a brush to, or I always like to say tune on, I hate that, I'm sorry. So now I'm adding a darker value on the eye socket, but since I'm trying to paint an East Asian face, so the eye socket wouldn't be that deep, and I'm trying to experiment with some different type of brushes. So now you can see roughly, some form of a face, and then some form of hairstyle, and then some dress, and then she's kind of turning around. But eventually, I'll get to make the pose a little more natural. But at this point, I'm just kind of experimenting and going with the flow. So this tutorial is more like you are going along with me to experiment with all these brushes and things, but the foundation of the painting is still the same, which is you have this plain deep shadow area on the eyes, and the shadow will be underneath the nose, the bottom of the nose, and then your lips, your upper lip will have shadow, and then your lower lip will receive a little more light, and where the planes of the face are that I explained on the other video, it will be on the same or similar location. So basically everything that you would be painting on the face will still be there, and the proportion of the face will also remain the same. So now I'm zooming in because I'm trying to get a little more precision with the shape of the eyes and the rest of the face. This is just going to be a very simple coloring. It's not quite, it's like painting coloring, but I would say coloring because it doesn't really, well, I'm not sure what the difference are, but I'm using line. So in the end result, we'll have more lines, so it will be more like a coloring over the line or with the line. And then, but I would draw, in the final, I'll draw a line over the existing sketchy line that I have. So it's more like a tighter with more refined line. All right, so and now I'm trying to get the shape of the eyes and along with the iris and pupils. So right now it looks like she's looking up. So I just want her to kind of look at us, but then slightly gazing away to the left side of the monitor. So, all right. So now we kind of get that, but then her eyes are a little too big. It looks a little bit too manga-ish or comical still. I want it to be a little more stylized, and I'm trying to make her eyes a little thinner and taper a little more because I want to find a certain style, and I want her to look a little more East Asian basically. So now I'm adding a little more color, which is I shifted a little bit toward the red from the little more eggshell color, or the how do you say that, the warm color. So I'm shifting it a little bit more saturated, a little bit toward the A and toward the red. Now I'm trying to find a pink and get the lip color going. So the face is a little more like a skin tone toward little yellow, and then the nose I put it a little more toward the warm and the red, and then the lips I'm pushing it toward the other side, which is almost toward the purple, so it becomes a little more pink here on it. And one of the things is that if the light hit the more your surface or your object get hit by the light, the more desaturated it will become, and whatever is in the shadow or whatever is in the midtone will have more saturation than the one that get exposed to the light. All right, now trying to get the shape of the nose and both sides of the nostril. So at this stage, I'm going to start making or creating more hard edge. So as you can see on the top of the lips, you would have the hard edge. And whatever, to define the hard edge, you would have to identify the abrupt change of planes from one point to the other. So if the plane change 45 degrees, that could definitely create a hard edge. But if your plane is only maybe 10 degree angle or 5 degree, then those are probably will still be a softer edge. So like on the side of your nose, like right next to your nostril, from and then from your cheeks on to your nose, your front of your face to your nose, then there are, big change of plane happen because it turned from front side, and then when it go up to the side of your nose, go to the side. The surface kind of facing the right or the left or wherever it's facing, and then the tip of the nose facing front again. So you have that big change of plane. So if you are able to break the subject down to geometry or simple geometry form, then you should be able to find more. You should be able to calculate how light, which side would be light and which side would be shadow, which side would be mid-tone. It depends on how you separate those. Like you can use three value for the gradient, and you just based on those three values, you get the variation of front, side, and some other plane, right? Or you can use 5 value. But I would stick to 2 to 3 first, and trying to get the best out of those 3 color palette for each master color or each master of the local color. Like on the skin, I'll try to get just 3 base value, which is light, mid, and dark, and then try to just use that before you start doing any gradation, before you start doing any blending, right? Because blending, you create a lot of variation within the range of values. So you have a lot of color range to go, and that's would create a lot of palettes. So stick with a few palettes, and then if there are some area, like you can see on the eyes right now, and on the side of the cheeks, there are some blending, but on the eyes it's like hard edge, and on the bottom of the nose there's a hard edge. So those hard edge will help define the front plane of the face. And then the hard edge that I'm creating on her chin right now, it's helped us define that the light is hitting from the left side of the screen, and her face is turning slightly a little bit to the right side. So it would create, as it turns, create some form of a shadow and change of plane. And since her chin, she has a ball of chin, then it's kind of a little curve or in a curvy shape, because you have that padding right in front of your jaw. I mean your chin. So that piece of muscle kind of create that shape of the ball, of the round shape of the shadow. Sorry, got a little confused there. Yeah. So now, and this is kind of almost a tutorial. It's just a voiceover, and I'm trying to explaining the foundation, not necessarily how to use the tool exactly, like what I use and what brush, and then I go this, I go there. Not necessarily, but I'm trying to make you understand where to paint, what to put there, and what are the rules. So light, desaturate, shadow, a little more saturate. So now I'm trying to pick the brush size, and I'm going into adding more skin color to the forehead. I think I can barely see it, what I did. Yeah, skin area on the face. Then at this point, sometimes maybe I pause a little too long, I guess, because somebody might be started talking to me and I just leave the screen recording on. All right, so I'm gonna move the line all the way down to the bottom. Maybe not, because I still need those lines to guide me on how to. Oops, I accidentally deleted. Undo again. I think I accidentally create a group or something, and I don't want that. So I'm just making a copy of the sketch, so I have a backup just in case if I paint over. It's just my habits to always make a copy of the file that I'm going to work on, and it will help me as a backup if I screwed up. So it's been my habit since Photoshop, I don't know, CS something, just the beginning, or maybe Photoshop 2. All right, so now I'm making another layer, I think. So usually when I'm arranging the layer, I usually try to separate it by color, so that will be easier for me to, if it's like color, what I mean by, the area for the hair, or the area by the face, or the area on the T on her tops, right, or her coat. So you can easily use eraser to erase if you want a certain shape of the hair, or you want a certain shape of the collars, or if you want short sleeve, then it's a lot easier to modify if they are on a different layer. Otherwise, you have to, if they're on the same layer, then you have to repaint them all the time. So those are one of the more convenience. Once you get your own workflow process, then it should be pretty apparent that sometimes breaking things in layers would be pretty helpful. right? So I'm trying to pick the darker value from underneath the nose. So I'm trying to get the shadow on her neck, since her face will cast a shadow on the neck. And the shadow, if you want to know more about light and shadow, then I might make some tutorial. But to cast a shadow, so the light's coming from the left side of the screen, right? So the shadow will be casting down because of her chin, will cause that cast shadow to the front of her neck, but it will be a little bit angled to the line would be diagonal. The line that cut between the light and shadow, or the terminator line, would be diagonal, since the left side of the face got the light coming from the left side of the face, top basically. Now, putting her collar. I'm trying to think which part I should be. I was trying to work on, and I'm just gonna draw some line over the face basically. And as you can see, as I recorded this, I think I missed the part that I tried to make the outline on her face. So the color of the outline of the face is basically the darker color of the skin, and I might pick the color that has more saturation and toward the warm a little better, so you get that vibrant. Because if you don't get the more warm or more saturation, then the color of the outline might be dead, unless you're using black as an outline. But I prefer the color that are similar to whatever that the line is surrounding the area. So if, for instance, if you're wearing a green shirt, then your outline of the green shirt should be a darker shade of green, like really dark, right? So now I am tweaking or trying to make the shape of her eyes with a little more precision. And now I have, if you notice, I have the eyelash being dark brown, and I have the iris being really dark, almost black, which has that two-tone. And I thought it might look better with those two-tone. You mean I mean the eyelash on top and the iris, right? Or the dark of the eyes. But then I realized that the simpler the better. So a lot of time, if there's nothing really special, or if you use true value and it doesn't make much difference in terms of design, or it doesn't help in any other way to make this look better, if it looks better by 10%, then it's not worth it. It has to look much better. So I'm just gonna kind of keep them in the end. I think I make the iris and the eyelash the same value, but for now I'm just trying to make the shape a little more like how I want it. I guess I want the side end of the eyes to be a little more taper and a little more north or up. And now I'm trying to use a low opacity and big brush to create that side of her jawline and her cheek. So as you can see, the light is coming from the front and from the left side a little bit, but it's still from the front, because then you can create a bit more shadow on the side of her face, right, to indicate some geometry. All right, the eyes still not quite there. So I'm just trying to see what I can do to tweak those. All right, so right now I think her neck is still a little big. We still have to fix some of the proportion problems, but now I'm just gonna see, now I'm covering the iris and her eyelash to be the same color, just to simplify the look of her eyes, because otherwise it will have two tone and you don't see much different. Then it causes it to look weird and it might not look as pretty as you want. So now I'm just going to tweaking the shape of the eye from the other side, and this is basically sort of pretty close. It is very close to how I wanted her to look, just very, very skinny eyes, and then she looked a little like, how do I say it without being mean? She looks a little snobbish. No, maybe, because I like that glare look. She's like, what, kind of. All right, now I want the eyes to be even flatter or smaller, basically. Okay, I think the shape of the eyes is there, but I still need to change the shape of the eyebrows. So now I'm shooting with the camera, just kind of experimenting. I mean, it looks cool. First of all, I'm just gonna change the pose on her body. So I'm just gonna erase all the part of the torso, all of them, and then we're gonna make her body turn to the right side of the screen so that it would she wouldn't have to twist her neck as much, and her neck is kind of in the wrong position for that pose since I started painting it, and it's kind of moved a lot. But all right, now I'm just gonna pick some brushes and oops. Okay. Well, when I shoot with this camera, it looks fine, but I still prefer the screenshot over the shooting over the camera at any day for the accuracy and the color choice. Because when I'm shooting it on, I will consistently trying to show this screen capture with my hands on it also. So I'm not trying to, like, on my next video I'm just gonna throw it away. So if I use the camera to capture the front of the screen on the iPad, most of the time, or almost all the time, certainly, my lighting is not as good. The color will be off from the real color that is in the iPad itself. So as you can see right now, and then I'll show you when I go back to the screen recording after this. I'm just going to show you this for 10 minutes so you can see what I was doing. So now I am changing the side of her, like I'm turning her torso to the other way, so it look a little more natural, so she doesn't make a twist and turn as much. And you can see I'm trying to pick the brush that I want to use. I just want to simplify this as much as I can, and just do with the big brush. Don't go with the small brush and trying to filling in all these things with tiny little brush. Go with the big stroke. And when same thing as when you're doing the when are you making the local base or base color, and then when you're adding the light, maybe resize your brush a little bit, but not too small. Trying to get a proper size of the brush, like however the width that you want from the actual paint on that, then just trying to make that big stroke. Basically that's what I can do, and it took me a long time to understand paint big with big stroke. So in the beginning you might getting a little hesitant or not feeling too comfortable with it, because we've always been drawing in using pencil, and it's not that big, and when you're trying to fill color you just have to do a lot of scribbling to fill in the color. So now I'm adding a little light onto her top, her green coat, and I want it to look sort of a little matte. What I meant by matte is maybe cotton canvas, or if you go a little more, if you have a little more specular level, it could be a velvet, right? So now, but when you look at that screen in comparison to the actual color in the iPad, it looks a little glossy. So that would look a little more, a little bit more past velvet, almost. Now I'm trying to, but it definitely looks slightly more contrast and a little more interesting than the original that was that the screen recordings record on the iPad. So, but I'm going to show you both. I'm going to show you this first, and when the time goes by a little bit, then I'm just going to switch the camera back to the screen recording. But let me know which one you prefer. I might make a longer extension of the part that you can see my hands here. So now in Procreate, I found out that if you use a lot of the smudge tool is pretty useful, and I don't usually, or I hardly ever use a smudge tool in Photoshop, but in Procreate it has a little like the flavor to it. It's more like when you're trying to drag the oil texture of the brush onto the left or drag some oil onto the right, like what I'm doing right now. You can get a pretty good result. And since you have eraser and the smudge tool in Procreate, I found it very useful because you can actually let's make a very good transition. It's better than the smudge tool in Photoshop, I would say. Maybe because I don't have a lot of custom brush here in Procreate yet, or I don't know how to use them very well in terms of making a shortcut and make it quick. And the smudge tool is up there, so I can use them. I can just click on it and use them pretty quickly, and just doing the easy transition work and doing the blending somewhat. I don't usually like blending as much. I like to make them transition. Like a lot of time people would do a lot of soft edge, which is blending from dark to light. You have to also think about the hard edge and alternate between soft and light. I mean soft edge and hard edge, because the hard edge is what's going to give you your character a nice chisel on the change of plane, right? If the change of plane, like I mentioned earlier, happen abruptly, then you have a hard edge. And if some part of it has a soft edge, it will have like a round surface. But if it's abrupt change of plane, then if it has angle higher than 45 degrees or something, you should have a hard edge. Depends, right? If your face is more angular, then you have a harder edge. So it could be pretty useful. And I'm talking about smudge tool. Sorry, I'm kind of sleepy right now, so I might talk out of the focus or out of the subject a little bit. So I'm just like kind of going with the flow. But hopefully most of the stuff I'm talking about will be pretty useful. And this, I think the layout of these tools are pretty intuitive, like the brush, the smudge tool, and the eraser. And usually in Photoshop, I will use soft brush to make a transition for the soft edge. And sometimes I'll use like custom brush most of the time to use a softer edge, right? But in here, the smudge tool seems to work just fine with, and when you pick the smudge tool with the right brush, then you can have the right texture on it when you're doing the smudging. Then it can be pretty nice. And the eraser can also create a really nice shape after you paint on it and you just erase to get the correct shape, right? So, and now I am making the shape of the hair a little better. And just gonna be, first, usually I will get the flat color. Then like here, I'm just trying to get the shape correct first, or the shape look a little more interesting. And that's the most thing people might miss when you're trying to creating a painting. They ignore the shape and just go straight right on to the rendering. They're like, oh, the rendering will make this look good. Not necessarily. Once, just go, just do the checklist to get the right shape, get the right value. That's of course rendering, and then a little bit of texture here and there. So these three things, right? So you get the right shape first, then the right value, then you can apply a little bit of texture. Don't skip this step, because if your shape is not right, then the rest will be pretty hard to tell what it is, right? If you're trying to draw and everything is out of proportion, for instance, then doesn't matter how good you render, that figure is not going to look good because of the wrong proportion. All right, so now we're back to the screen recording. Here we go. And the color is slightly different. It's not as saturated as we see it in front of the camera. So, all right, so now I'm adding a little, I'm not trying to add a mustache or a beard. I'm just making a layer underneath it and then making another, I'm not sure what it's called. It's called pigtails. If anybody knows, just post it down in the comment and let me know. And also, if you have any suggestion on what I should do on Procreate, or any more, what kind of tutorial you like to see from iPad and Procreate, then let me know down in the comment. And if you are interested in more detail painting, you can get my tutorial on Gumroad, the ultimate digital painting for beginner, volume 1 and volume 2. Those are on my Gumroad, gumroad.com/Xia Taptara, or you can go to cubebrush.co/Xia Taptara, or you can go to dashclass.com and it will lead you there. So now I'm just trying to clean up this layer. Those two will be pretty useful. And then, just what type of video you want to see, just comment down below, and I'll try as I'll usually read them, but I'll try my best to taking them in and trying to evaluate which one would be more useful, which one that people request the most. But please do comment, and if you like the video, please thumbs up, and just scroll through my channel and see what you can find most useful, or you can search for something and then type my name on the YouTube search box, and you would end up usually finding something. All right, and if you want to take one-on-one mentorship class with me, let me know, and I will just a link down below so you can. I'm really sleepy right now, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, just anyways, there's about 10 minutes left or something, but I'm just gonna leave you guys to the process here. And if you have any suggestion for the video, and if you have anything to comment on or something, right? What kind of program, what would help you with the digital art stuff, just let me know down in the comment. And please share the video if you like it and you think it's useful to your friend. Thank you very much, and I will try to do the shooting live more, and then maybe I'll show my face a little more in the video. But for now, usually I don't have a lot of time, so I work all day, and then if I end up at the end of the day, usually I'll just scribbling on the screen recording to set up the camera and shooting. It's a little it takes a lot more time to do that. So screen recording, that's where it is. But I will try to get my face on the camera. All right, guys. Well, enjoy the rest of the video.